Huh? Cool. You don't have cups in your car, do you? Foam cups, no. I tried. We have the coffee machine, no coffee cups. Is there a cup in my car? There's probably a cup in my. Go wash it out and make me a cup of coffee. There we go. What page are we on? Go wash that out. We started talking about zakat, right? We're ready, right? Because I've done my waiting. Did you get the link in the group? Did you pin the PDF of stuff? I don't see it. That's why I'm asking.
It is, I just got it.
How do you not see it? Yeah, it would be easy if you could just start up. You're always finding your own.
I'm getting there. Well, we have nobody online because all the online people are in class today, so that's good. Just not decaf. Let me see. Salted caramel and bourbon. Oh, that sounds good. All right, that one. Yes, one of those. And pick 10 or 12 ounces so it doesn't overflow. Medium. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. One page 160, you said? All right, so what did we talk about with zakat last time? Who can review? Say something. You guys know something about zakat, right? Okay, yes, tell me why it's important. Okay, so there's a link between salat and zakat. So the way prayers, salat is obligatory, Zakat is also obligatory. The same way, if somebody says, I'm Muslim, but I don't pray, I don't think prayer is a thing, I don't think prayer is important, it's a sin which takes somebody out of the fold of Islam. Same thing with zakat. If somebody says, zakat is not a thing, I don't believe in it, then that would also take them out of the fold of Islam. This differs from somebody who misses it out of laziness or misses it out of confusion. But somebody outright rejects salat or rejects zakat, it would take them out of the fold of Islam. Okay, what else? What else? Tell me.
If you don't have like cash, then you can use livestock or something.
Okay, so no, the zakat is on different types of things. If you have livestock, then you give it in livestock. If you have money, then you give it in money, right? What else? What else can you tell me about zakat? Either that's the importance of zakat or
Um,
the wisdom behind it.
it prevents like families from having to beg if you just give them your zakat, like, helps them not have to.
So if Muslims as a society gave our zakat properly, then we wouldn't have poor Muslims because they would be provided for. And it prevents people from having to beg or having to go through that, because that in and of itself is a hardship for anybody who has ever had to ask somebody for something. It's not easy. What else?
We already say it's a form of purification.
No, we didn't say that yet. Yes, it's a pure form of purification from what?
From sin.
From sin, specifically what type? From greed. Good, very good. Pride. Okay. Stinginess. What else? Miserliness, stinginess, same thing. What else?
It's a way to armor military forces.
Wait, before that, it's purification from what else?
From the world? I don't know.
It's purification from any type of wealth that you accumulated in the wrong way. So, for example, if you made some mistakes, you lied or did something else, maybe unknowingly, maybe out of carelessness, then this is a purification from that a wealth which was accumulated in a way that was not permissible.
But you're not talking about haram ways.
Well, I'm talking about more of the minor sins than the major.
That was one of my questions last week when I was on live, was if someone pays a zakat with money that was not earned legally, per se, in terms, like say the person is a drug dealer, would that purify?
So I don't know that it's not going to purify at all, because that's something that's 100% wrong. What that person has to do is repent. What this is meant is like somebody who's the vast majority of their income is correct, but maybe did like a shopkeeper. Maybe that shopkeeper didn't tell somebody certain things about his item. That's not permissible to hide things, right? But maybe he did that out of laziness. Maybe he did that out of carelessness. So those types of things would be purified. The minor sins. Now we're not talking about the major ones. What else? What else can you tell me out of zakat? Come on. Okay. Oh, so he's getting to specific things. So if zakat is paid on 4 types of things, what are they? Zakat is paid on 4 types of wealth. Produce of the earth. Gold and silver, yeah, and money. Livestock, business inventory, 4 things, right? 4 categories. And then each one has its own rulings. Each one has the minimal amount, and each one has the percentage that you have to give. So Josema mentioned that if you have farmland and it's naturally irrigated, you pay ushur 10%, right? And if you and if it's irrigated by a well, or you have to bring water and you have to make effort to bring water, then it's 5%. So he mentioned that. All right. And we didn't mention that there's also a huge reward in giving zakat. The things that are obligatory isn't just that we'll be punished for not doing it. We're rewarded for doing it. There's 2 ways to look at it, right? So just as there's a huge benefit and reward in our prayers, there's a huge benefit and reward in our zakat. And it's not something that we should miss out on at all. Okay. Any questions up until that point?
When does someone start paying zakat?
What do you mean by when?
Like, you know how, I don't know, is there like an age, you know how like when people usually start praying, things like that, there's some reference. Or would like the family give it when they have their child, or how that? Okay.
I think that, so let's say there's a wealth that was left to somebody, let's say an inheritance, and that person hasn't hit the age of puberty yet. The person who's managing that wealth still has to give zakat out of it.
When the person themselves has to start paying, do they have enough money to do so?
Well, that's one of the criterions, is having enough money. That's what nisab is. So we'll get into that in a second. All right. Nisab. Nisab is the minimum amount of property on which zakat is due. So everybody doesn't have to pay zakat. If somebody's poor, they don't have enough for their regular daily life, then Islam doesn't force them to pay zakat. And this is the difference. My coffee. This is the difference between Allah's laws being just and man's laws being unjust. Because no matter if you're rich or poor, you're paying tax. And if you're poor, you're probably paying more than the rich people right now. And that's how unjust man-made laws are. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his laws are just. So if somebody does not have the amount of wealth to take care of themselves, then why would we tax that person? Why would we have that person give zakat? That person should be receiving it from other people. So that's what nisab is. Nisab is the Arabic term, which refers to the minimum amount, that if you have this amount, then you have to start paying zakat. So because there is 4 different types of wealth, there's 4 different categories of nisab. Who would like to read? Not everybody at once. It's 160 in the PDF.
Grains and fruit. 5
Awsaq.
Which equal 618 kilograms. The zakat due is 10% on what is irrigated by rainfall or springs or other natural means. 5% if it is irrigated by methods which require labor and or capital.
Okay. So a lot of these things, terminologies of measurement are going to be in Arabic term. Obviously, because they had their own system of measurements. They didn't have kilograms and pounds. They had their own systems of measurements. But usually what will happen is they'll translate that and give you a conversion. So 5 OSUC is equal to about 618 kilograms. That's what, like almost 15,000 pounds. And if that person has that much grains, fruit, then zakat is due on it. Like we had mentioned, if it's naturally irrigated, it's 10%. And if it's there's some type of labor or some type of cost required to irrigate it, to bring water to it, then it is 5%. Number 2.
Gold, silver, and currency. Gold, 20 dinars or 85 grams. The zakat due is 2.5%. Silver, 5
It's
AWOC,
leaking.
which equals 595 grams. The zakat due is 2.5%. Paper money, the value of 85 grams or 85 grams of gold or 595 grams of silver in that currency.
Okay, so for gold and silver, for gold, it's 20 dinars, which is 85 grams. So we have 85 grams worth of gold, then they have zakat due. If they have 75 grams worth of gold, zakat is not due. Silver is 595 grams. Now, the question then becomes, what do you do with paper money? Because paper money is a new thing, right? They didn't have paper money back then. So you can either use the calculation for gold or the calculation for silver. Most people will use the calculation for silver because it comes out to a smaller dollar amount. So just leave it there. Yes, thank you. Okay. So just so we have a number in front of us, how much is the value of 85 grams of gold? You can ask Siri, you can ask Google, Gemini, whoever you want. Give me a number.
$10,941.
$10,941. All right. Yeah, what about 595 grams of silver? $931. And the other one was how much?
The other one was 10,000. 10,000.
You said 595 grams of silver, right?
Yeah, 931.
Not,
I got 934, so basically it's
How can it be that much difference?
it is. It is. So some people will use the nisab of gold, some people will use it of silver. It's up to you either way. Yeah.
That's so crazy because from 931 to 10,000.
It's because the value of gold is a lot more than silver is. And maybe at that time, it was near equal, but just the way the world is now, there's more on gold. So if somebody wants to use the nisab of gold and that's their intention, that's fine. When they have $11,000, they can start giving zakat. But that seems a bit much though to me, because $10,000 of your extra that's just sitting in the bank.
Yeah, although you never do that.
Well, I mean, some of us will, but
Right.
That's how we're ready to be.
That's on this first So you have to have that minimal level in order to be required to even pay the cost.
correct.
And
Yeah, so it's not even a requirement.
and if it's your daily use, then you don't.
This is above and beyond, like this is something that's saved,
Right.
right?
For like this
So now, So when you count, for example, when you count property and stuff, when you count property, it's not the property that you use. So for example, you have a car, you're not going to count your car value because that's the car you use. If you have a car that you're sitting on a lot that you're going to sell, that's business inventory. That's something different.
That's totally reasonable too, because if somebody's got that much excess, they should be paying charity.
Yeah. For example, your house. If you own your house, that's not zakatable, right? The house that you live in, you don't need to pay zakat on. If you have other houses that you rent out, those you pay zakat on. Because that's counted as like inventory, property for inventory. So again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very just. He's not requiring you to pay zakat on things that are your daily necessities. This is something above and beyond that. Question so far?
When, if you can put zakat in the masjid, or you have to give it to like, for people?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Saying like, when you put zakat in the masjid, is it preferred to do that, or is it better to give in,
Directly.
So if you give it to the masjid, you have to give it in the box that says zakat. Because that's different than regular charity. Reg, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So if you want to give it to the masjid, or you want to give it to an organization because that's something easy for you, then it has to be designated as zakat. Because what they have to do with zakat is different from what they can do for regular things. Example, zakat can only be given to Muslims, right? So if a charity organization, you don't tell it zakat and they give some help to non-Muslims, charity organizations do that. It's a good thing to do. They cannot give zakat funds. They would just give regular charity funds, right? So
That would just be something else.
so that's why you have to designate your funds as zakat. Now,
So donations like what they did at the donors banquet, that's zakat?
if you designate it as zakat. So, for example, ICNA Relief, if you go online, you have different funds that you can give things to. You can give things to transitional house, you give things to hunger prevention, and there'll be one for zakat. You have to choose zakat rather than general donations. If you wanted to count as zakat, yes.
If you give it to the school, if you designate it as zakat, it would probably go into the school student scholarship fund to help needy students. But it won't go to pay staff salaries, it won't go to pay the electricity bill for the school, anything like that.
But
So-
at what point do you have to designate it as zakat?
When the person gives it, the person giving zakat designates, and then the school knows to apply it and only use it for zakatable
How
purposes.
would we do that
On your donations.
for, Mubarak school? How would we do that?
Which school?
We have a diversity program with Al Medina for a school in Nigeria, in Abuja, Nigeria, who is, anyway, an acquaintance of a teacher. But anyway,
Is it a Quran
how
school?
would we do that?
Is it a school or a Quran school?
It's a school.
It's a regular school.
Well, but basically she does the Quran as well. So I think she's doing some English classes maybe.
And the majority of the kids are really poor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So then it's all zakat. Yeah. Everything you give there is zakat then. That's fine.
Yeah, she doesn't teach regular curriculum. She teaches.
Basically ju-
Arabic, Islamic studies.
So it's basically for Quran.
Yeah.
Then it's definitely for zakat. Yeah.
So, okay.
So for example, you go to the masjid, you go to ICVA. On either the boxes will say different things like zakat, general fund, construction fund, right? So you would put it in zakat. Also, you'll have like how they have the tablets there. So you'll select the zakat fund. So that fund is different. It's kept different. So that will go directly to people who need it, rather than paying the light bill.
So again,
So when it's time for me to pay my whatever percentage that I owe for zakat, I can indicate, please deem this as my zakat.
You leave them in your
When I give it,
or-
when I give it.
So let's say I know that my zakat amount is $2,000, let's say. And I give it to such school $500, even if it's ahead of time, I can do that. And my intention is, okay, this $500 for zakat, so now I have 1,500 left over to give before the due date.
Oh, so we should make that clear to them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just let her know that this much of it was zakat, that she's using it all for a, well, but if it goes into her bank account, she's using some to support students and some to pay the electricity bill of the school, even though it's a,
That's fine. Look, if it's a really poor area and it's a Quran school, that'll all count as zakat, to be honest.
now with our school, we have to do.
Yeah, for our school, it's different because there's so many people who are not zakat eligible. But if it's a school in such a poor area, but I think another thing you can do is have like one of the imams, like Imam Omar, review what it is, and then have him write down that this is eligible for zakat. Because then you'll have that to be,
responsible for declaring.
yeah. So then just have him write the verdict on it. What else was I gonna say? What was I gonna say?
You were going to say when she asked about giving it to the person.
Yes. Thank you. So you can give it to an organization or a masjid and have it designated as zakat fund. The best way to give it is to the people that you know need zakat. You know a poor family, the best thing is to give them. And even better than that is to give it to a poor family member, a relative, one that you're not responsible for. So, for example, a father cannot give zakat to his children because he's responsible for them. He cannot give zakat to his wife because he's responsible for her, all of her expenses. Children cannot give zakat to their parents because they're responsible for caring for their parents. But if it's like an uncle, a cousin, or something like that, then yes.
But like as a reaper, he gives it to the family, period.
Right. You can't give zakat to somebody who's not a Muslim.
But if I know a Muslim family that I'm close to that is poor, something I can do.
Yes.
And it goes directly to them, and there's nothing that needs to happen.
No, you just give it to them. You don't even have to tell them it's zakat because some people will feel a certain way if you do that.
As long as my intention is.
Right. But it's better to give it to them as that amount rather than buy something for them.
I was gonna ask.
So give them that amount. Don't make it like a gift. Like, oh, okay, I'm giving this person $500 in zakat. So rather than give him the money, I don't know, I'll buy her a new handbag. No, give her the money.
Can I have one more example? Sorry. So what if I know, this is, I don't, I'm just asking. If I know a poor family, like say they're behind on bills, can I pay that percentage in their bills or something, or just give them the money? Like say they're like, oh, my zakat is 1,500, oh, you're 1,500 behind on bills, I'll pay the bills for you. Or does the money-
Yeah, because that's a debt. Zakat can be used off to pay somebody's debt too.
Okay.
Is there some kind of ruling for new Muslims? I noticed that sometimes people, when it's a new Muslim, they want to give more. Is there some reason behind that? Is it zakat?
Repeat that, please. Repeat.
Why when someone takes their shahada, do a lot of people become very generous toward them financially? Is it some kind of zakat or sadaqah?
One of the categories is to soften people's hearts. So what that means is if somebody who has just accepted Islam and we're generous towards them, then it'll give them more confidence in Islam. It'll make them feel more comfortable. And a lot of times somebody who has accepted Islam, especially if you look historically, their family may have pushed them out. Their tribe may have pushed them out. So they may not have the means to be able to survive.
And just speaking from personal experience, I have to like come up with a whole new wardrobe, so that's not cheap. And
There you go.
each dress costs about $100.
Can't relate. Men's clothing is so much cheaper. Alhamdulillah. Yes.
The reason why I was okay with it, because I wanted to help some lady out. Pay her for- Anyway, whatever.
Alhamdulillah. May Allah accept it. Okay. Okay. Number 3.
Merchandise for sale, the value is calculated, and if it reaches the nisab or of gold or silver, zakat is due on it at the rate of 2.5% of its value.
So merchandise inventory for sale is just like cash. If you just calculate the amount of it and then you compare it to the nisab, the minimum amount of gold or silver, and then if you're over that, then you pay 2.5%.
What is nisab?
Nisab is the minimal amount
Oh,
of on which zakat is due. So nisab of gold we said was what, almost 11,000, and nisab of silver was almost 1,000.
it's just the minimum amount that you have to pay.
That is the minimum amount that you have to pay. Yeah.
On which you have to pay, not what you have to pay. You don't have to pay $100, you have to pay after that, what you have to pay.
Oh, okay, so not gross.
No. So if you have $10,000, then you'll pay 2.5% of that 10,000, right?
$10 extra.
If you have $10,000, that is zakatable,
Yeah.
which means that it's saved, right? It's not it's not like your car or your house. You have $10,000 worth of gold or money in the bank account, or whatever investments. You have $10,000 worth, then you pay zakat on that 2.5%.
I'm confused. You pay zakat on the nisab or on the amount above the nisab?
Once you reach nisab,
Right,
then you have to pay
on,
on everything.
on,
That's a border.
On everything. That just means you're rich enough to pay.
but I thought it was,
It's not the amount over nisab. No, it's you pay on the nisab.
Yes, I mean, it's like the point at which you start, if you have that.
No, that just determines who pays and who doesn't pay.
Oh, okay.
If you're under the amount of nisab, you're forgiven.
oh,
If you're over the amount of nisab, then you pay it on the whole thing.
You not only are eligible for certain things with certain income,
right.
when you reach that eligibility, then you are like eligible or not eligible. If you're like 50 cents above that amount, you are no more.
That's
eligible.
yeah.
The same amount. You got 12,000, you're paying on the whole 12,000.
Yes.
Not just on 2,000?
Yes.
Okay.
So if what's 2.5% of 12,000?
I don't know. I'm close.
So it is.
So each 1,000 would be $25, right?
That's a lot of things I thought.
$25 times 12, it times 10 is $250. So it's $300. Not bad. Even if you do the nisab for silver and it's $1,000, it's $25. We're not talking about big amounts here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very merciful. It's not like tax, which is like 33%. Yes, yeah.
Says it every year.
Or if what you can do is like if you look up zakat calculator, there'll be some online and you could just put in, okay, I have this much gold, I have this much this, and it'll calculate it all out for you.
You mentioned that's like not the gold that you use for your, like for women, the gold that we are wearing is not the one that we would do the for. Did you cover that?
No, because I didn't want to get into that because there's ikhtilaf in that. Some say that the women have to pay zakat on that gold, and some say they don't. So me personally, I pay it. If I ever get married, I have gold prepared.
Okay, but you not to wear.
Not to wear, no. And on my daughter's gold. But some say you don't have to. Allah knows best. I pay it out of just the safety of it. Maybe women today have more gold than what they did in the past. Maybe they had That's kind of how I think maybe they had a little bit that they used, and now we have much more than that. I don't know. Wallahu alam.
That's what I get is like, if the one you use is okay, but if you are not using it, even if it is like, just like for whatever,
Yeah.
then you have to pay for it.
Okay. I mean, again, there's some differences of opinions on that, so that's why I really didn't touch on that. If somebody has that much gold, again, it's not a huge amount. Just pay it. I think it's better to be cautious than you know.
In my opinion, you're trying to purify your wealth, but in my opinion, say, this next $25 is half a pay on Saturday.
Yeah. So you know, if you paid more, then Allah will reward you for that as well, inshallah. Fourth category.
Livestock, camels, the minimum nisab is 5 camels. The zakat due is a sheep.
Okay, so if you have 5 camels, you pay 1 sheep. That doesn't work like that. Because then 10 camels I think it's a different thing. Then you had to pay like a baby camel or something like that. There's a lot of stuff there. We're just doing the simple stuff right now. Cattle. There we go.
Cattle, the minimum nisab is 30 cows. The zakat due is a 1-year-old
Okay.
cattle.
All right. And then sheep and goats.
Okay, sorry. Sheep and goats. The minimum nisab is 40 head. The zakat due is 1 sheep.
Okay. So the next page has like charts for different types of cattle. I think we can kind of skip that unless you want to just take a quick glance at it. Nobody has livestock, right? Okay.
Chickens don't count, right?
Chickens do not count. Okay, so now chickens would count if that's your business. You had a farm, then you would calculate, okay, what are the values of these chickens? I have $10,000 worth of chicken.
Because that's basically inventory.
That's inventory.
To be like the merchandise.
Yeah. Because you're going to sell it, right?
What do you sell the eggs from it or the chicken itself?
Yeah. Eventually you're going to sell the chicken, right? But these, for cattle, the specific cattle that I mentioned here, then you would do this in a specific amount. Whether you're using those things or whether you're not, this is your amounts. Whether your intention is to sell them or not to sell them, you may just keep this all your cattle and just use the milk, right? You just kept them for grazing and milking purposes, but you still pay the zakat on it. All right, so there's different types of numbers of camels. There's different ages of the camels that you have to give, and we can kind of skip over that because none of us have livestock. But just know that that's there. So if you ever get into a situation where you do have a farm, do have livestock, this is where you would find it. Any questions so far? All right. Everybody knows what nisab is, right? You might not know the amount, but you know what it is. Okay. How zakat should be distributed?
You want to go ahead and read?
Sure, anybody can.
The basic text which describes how zakat should be distributed is the word of Allah. As-sadakat here means obligatory charity, i.e. zakat, are only for the fuqara, the poor who do not beg, and the al-masakin, the poor who beg, and those employed to collect the funds, and for to attract hearts of those who have been inclined towards Islam, and to free the captives, and for those in debt, and for Allah's cause.
Okay. So, Allah's cause, right? And okay, and then for the wayfarer, right? The traveler. So there's 7 categories here. The fuqara, there's different meanings of what fuqara and masakin mean, right? Um, the fuqara, some people say it's the people, the masakin are people, are poor people, people who don't have enough to run their daily affairs. They have something, but they don't have enough. And the fuqara are those people who have almost nothing. All right. So those are two categories of people you can give zakat to. Those who are employed to collect the funds, so the people who are appointed by the state to go and collect zakats from the different farmers and the different people, they do that. Their salaries can be given out as zakat. To attract the hearts of those who are inclined towards Islam. So, for example, somebody has just become a Muslim, and or you can promise somebody that, look, if you become Muslim, we'll take care of you and things in this like this, and they accept Islam, and then you help them. To free the captives. So if that could mean two things, if somebody was enslaved, to free them, or somebody was captured by another tribe or something like this, another city state, and you had to pay a ransom to free them. For those in debt, if somebody's in a debt and you want to use zakat to clear that debt, that is as well. But I don't know that it should be used for people nowadays who just run up debt irresponsibly. It's somebody who's really in debt, and it's something that's become a difficulty for them. Because if you look at it, like, a lot of people are in debt because people have credit card debts and people have this, that, and that debt, student loan debt and stuff like that. But that's debt a lot of times that is, people can manage it still. So we're talking about things like somebody has, a debt, medical bill debt, and they just can't pay it now. And now collectors are coming after them and they're stressed out of it. Yes, you can use zakat to that.
Or being locked for it.
Hmm?
Or being locked in jail for it.
Right. Yeah. They're being threatened with some type of legal action if they don't pay their debts. Right. So then we can give them zakat. For Allah's cause. So for Allah's cause, this is kind of a wide category of interpretation. Some say it's just for the Muslim armies. That's definitely one category of it. And others say it's also for example, like a school that teaches Quran, because that's Allah's cause, and organizations that give dawah and things like that. And for a traveler, because you have to think back to how people traveled back in the days. They didn't have phones with their bank accounts on it. So somebody traveled, they maybe they have wealth in their own homeland, but they don't have it with them now. And right now they're suffering because they can't get from place to place because they don't have the funds for it. You can give them some money for zakat. Yes, question.
But doesn't it mean like not just a traveler, but this is a traveler who is cut off from everything? So maybe their family cut them off and they're alone in the world.
I think that would be a different category, right? That would either come to the fuqara or the masakin, just a poor person, right? But this is specifically for a traveler who has money in their own homeland, right? But because they're traveling right now, they don't have funds with them right now to be able to get back home. So it's more rare nowadays because everybody has access to their banks on their phones and their ATM cards and everything like that. You have access to that. But back in the day, even a rich person, if they were traveling and they were overextended, now they don't have food, what do? Right? Okay, so that's, yep, we can continue.
A duty imposed by Allah. And Allah is all knowing, all knowing, all wise.
Okay.
Allah is explained in this ayah 8 categories, all of them deserving to receive zakat. They are the fakir, the destitute, He is the poor person who possesses half of his minimum needs or less. He is more needy than the miskin. He is poor, but he is better off than the fakir, like one who possesses 70% or 80% of his needs, for instance. The proof that the fakir is more in need than the miskin is the statement of the law. As for the boat, it belonged to poor people working in the sea. They were described as being miskin, although they owned the boat.
Okay, so this is from the story of Musa and Khidr. If you remember that story, they went to a place where there was a pirate who was stealing people's boats, and they saw a family who had a boat, so they put a hole in the boat so it'd be defective so the pirate wouldn't steal that boat. Right? So when he was explaining it afterward, he said that this boat belonged to some poor people working in the sea. So the word here that was used was miskin, which shows a person who's miskin, who's poor, has something, just not enough. And the fakir is somebody, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. A fakir is somebody who has close to nothing. You can keep reading.
The miskin and fakir should be given of the zakat what will suffice them for the coming year. Since zakat is only due once a year, so it is only fitting that they get enough to last them until its next distribution. The necessity should be based on what he and his family need of food, clothing, housing, and anything which one cannot do without, living on a moderate level, neither extravagantly nor very tight. The family includes everyone whom the recipient has a responsibility to support. The level of necessity varies from era to era and place to place, and to some extent between one individual and another. What is sufficient for a person in one society is not sufficient for a person in another. So true. And what was enough 10 years ago may not be enough today. So true again. And likewise, what is enough for one person may not be enough for another. True again. According to the different number of dependents and obligatory expenditures, etc. The scholars have given the fatwa legal verdicts that necessity includes medical treatment of the ill and helping single people to get married and acquiring necessary books of religious knowledge. For the fakir and miskin to be eligible for receiving zakat, they must be Muslim and not from the lineage of Bani Hashim and their slaves.
Why can't there be a committee of the Hashim?
What's that?
It says for the fakir miskin to be eligible for receiving zakat, they must be Muslim and not from the lineage of Bani Hashim and their slaves.
Okay, so Bani Hashim is the family of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the family of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam cannot receive zakat.
Oh, that makes sense then. Okay.
Yeah, and their slaves or their free slaves are considered part of that tribe. Yes. So somebody is actually Hashmi Sayyid, they should not receive zakat. They cannot receive zakat.
I wonder how they can figure that out or keep track of that.
I mean, people keep track of the lineage. Yeah, especially if you're Hashmi or, yeah, they they would keep track of that. Yeah, so they cannot receive zakat.
I mean, maybe for the family, but like for the descendants of the slaves, how would they know, you know?
I mean, if they don't know, they don't know. But
Yeah,
they,
that's fair.
but believe me, a lot of them will know.
Yeah, that's fair too.
Yeah.
Also, they should not be close relatives of the donor for whom he is sponsor as his parents, children, and wives. Finally, he should not be able-bodied who is able to earn a living based on the statement of the prophet. There is no portion in it for the wealthy, nor for the strong who can earn his living. The collectors of zakat.
Okay,
Okay.
so we talked a lot. Okay, so the Fakir and Miskin, basically, there are different types of poor people. Um, they should be given according to what they need. Not everybody needs the same amount of things. And it should be something moderate, not extravagant, and not very tight either, right? Um, Something that's based on that society and that time and that era.
Like for instance, my mom who has 6 kids, she would require way more than I, who only has me and my husband.
Exactly.
Question. It says that they should be given until the next time the zakat is due, but that's not for one person to get from it, right?
No, so this is more for if the state is giving the zakat on everybody's behalf, then they should give that person enough to last them for that year. Right? Now it says zakat should not be given to somebody who is strong and can earn his living. There's two things: somebody's strong and can earn the living. So, for example, if they're they're not able to find a job, which is a very real thing, they can still be given zakat until they're able to find a job because they're not able to earn a living. There's a lot of good, strong people out there who want to work are not able to.
Would mental illness fall under being strong?
Absolutely,
Okay.
because mental and emotional health is part of it. Somebody has such a condition that they can't work, then they should be handled on a state, whether that condition is a physical one or a mental or emotional one. Number 3, somebody want to help her out?
I don't mind reading, actually, I don't like it.
Okay, go for it.
The collectors of zakat, they are those appointed by the ruler of the Muslim state or his deputy to perform one of the duties necessary for the establishment of zakat in the society, such as collecting it, storing it, keeping its records and accounts, guarding it, transporting it, and distributing it, etc. The zakat employee should be paid a wage comparable to that of a person doing a similar job in some other organization, and according to how much time he works for the zakat purpose, even if he is rich, as long as he is a rational, adult Muslim, trustworthy, and qualified for the job. However, if he is from Bani Hashim, he cannot receive a wage from the zakat money, based on the hadith of Muslim, the book, on the authority of al-Mutalib bin Rabi'ah, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, sadaqah, charity, is not befitting for the family of Muhammad.
So, again, we talked about that those who are descendants of the Prophet do not receive zakat. Zakat can be given, like the wages of the people who are in that institution who collect zakat can be paid out of zakat. Okay.
Can be or should be?
Can.
For the weakly faithful, those whose hearts are to be drawn close. These are persons of authority and influence among their clans, tribes, nations, etc., who it is hoped will become Muslim, or if they are seeking new Muslims, to strengthen their attachment to Islam, so that their belief can take root firmly, or that his peers might become Muslim, or to protect the Muslims, or to deflect the harm they are capable of inflicting. And this category is still eligible for zakat. It has not been abrogated, and they are to be given what it takes to reconcile their hearts to Islam and supporting and defending it. This portion may even be given to a disbeliever because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave Safwan bin Umayyah a portion of the spoils of Hunayn. It may also be given to a Muslim, for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave to Abu Sufyan bin Harb, and also to Aqra bin Habis, and to Uyayna bin Hisn, to each of them 100 camels.
So there is one category where some non-Muslims can be given zakat, and it's not for everybody. It's those people who are very close to accepting Islam, one, or if they're like people of influence that if we give them some money of zakat, they won't harm the Muslims or will, be part of like a treaty or something like that. So this is not like just giving it to anybody. So there's a very specific condition in which certain non-Muslims can be given zakat. Otherwise, in general, non-Muslims cannot be given zakat. Continue.
To free slaves, this includes freeing a slave outright or helping a slave who has contracted with his owner to purchase his own freedom, to make his payments, or to ransom Muslim prisoners of war from the enemy. This is included in the category because the prisoner of war is in a state of bondage, and his need is even more pressing as he is in danger of being killed or forced to abandon Islam.
All right. So that's some other categories of people who can receive zakat. Yes.
Oh, continue? Oh,
Mhm.
sorry.
Unless there's any questions.
Oh, okay.
We talked about it, right? People who are captive and those who are slaves to free them.
Debtors, they are those who have incurred debts, and they are specified as responsible for the discharge of those debts. Debts are of two kinds. Debts incurred by a person on his own behalf for something which is permissible in Islam, for instance, for clothing or his family's living expenses, or to get married, or for medical treatment, or to build a house, or necessary furnishing, or to pay for accidental damages to another person's property. In such cases, he should be given what it takes to discharge the debt if he is too poor to do so himself. And if the debt was incurred in obedience to Allah or in a lawful matter. And it is required that the recipient be a Muslim and that he not be well off, able to discharge the debt on his own, and that the debt was not incurred in disobedience to Allah, and that payment is already due or will be due in the coming year. And finally, the debt must be owed to a human being, which excludes financial debts to Allah, such as the expiation for broken oaths or other sins or zakat payments.
Okay, so zakat can be used to help people out of debt. Those debts that are for something permissible, right? And were incurred in a permissible way. So, for example, somebody needed to borrow money to, buy necessities for their family, or to keep their business going, or something like that. And so those debts can be helped out of zakat.
Debts incurred by a person who incurs a debt for someone else's benefit. For instance, to make peace between two parties. He is eligible for zakat based on the hadith of Kabisa Hilali, who said, I took upon myself responsibility for someone else's debt. So I came to the Prophet ﷺ to ask his help. He ﷺ said, wait until some zakat payment comes in, and I will order some of it to be given to you. And then he said, oh, Kabisa, asking for money is only permissible in 3 cases. a man who took responsibility for another's debt, so it is permissible for him to ask until he gets what covers the debt, then he stops asking, or a man who was beset by a disaster which destroyed his property and wealth, in which case it is permissible for him to ask until he gets what it takes to put him back on his feet, or like he was said, what it takes to fill his need, or a person beset by
Poverty.
I'm sorry, I'm breaking down. And 3 men of discernment from his people say, so-and-so is poverty stricken, so asking is permissible for him until he gets what it is. I'm sorry, somebody else take over, I'm fine.
What it takes to put it back in his need. When he is from the law, he will establish that what it takes to pay his needs. Leaving aside that is corruption. Oh, Kabisa, the one who gives his corruption. It is also permissible to pay the debtor.
No, stop there, stop there, stop. Okay, so, the second category is, let's say there's a problem going on between two people. One is indebted to the other person, and the person who wants his debt back is putting a lot of pressure on him. Third person comes in and says, okay, I'll pay the debt on his behalf. Right? So now let's say Josema was in debt to somebody, and I say, no, I take responsibility for his debt. Right? So now I can, like, if there's a God's money available to pay it off for me, I can do that. Because I'm just trying to help that guy who couldn't pay off his debt.
Why didn't that guy just take his account money?
Which guy?
Guy number 1, guy number 2.
Maybe guy number 1 didn't have access to it. Maybe he didn't know what to do. And he was in pressure at the time, so I stepped in and said, okay, look, I'll take care of it. Right?
It is also permissible to pay the debt of the dead person from Zakat funds because it is necessary for the money to pass through the debtor's hands. That is the fine point of the text, because for some categories, it states that the Zakat is for them as for the debtor. Different prepositions used, which would be translated as in the debtor, that is, in his case or in his interest. His ability to possess the Zakat is not a condition for its payment on his behalf.
Very basically, I think he wrote this in a really complicated way, but if a person dies and there's debts on that person and that needs to be paid off, if that person doesn't have enough wealth from his inheritance to pay off that debt, zakat can be used to do that.
So when you're saying zakat is used for that, they're taking it from, say, donations that were meant for zakat, or they're taking it from their own personal money?
No, donations from other people.
If it can be clear from their how they left behind, right?
If somebody leaves behind a debt and it can be paid from their inheritance, that's the first place it goes from. Other than that, it can, somebody can say, okay, I'll pay it out of my zakat, or they can turn to the government. If the government or an organization has a zakat fund for that, they can help out with that as well.
But the person helping cannot consider it zakat if they pay it off out of their own money. That's not zakat.
I'm not clear on what you're asking. What,
So she's saying that if a person cleared another person's, the deceased person's debt, is that considered that person's account?
so somebody died, that person had $1,000 in debt, and I come and I said, okay, I'll give that $1,000. That's my, I can give it out of my zakat.
It's still zakat?
Yeah, that's my zakat, yeah.
They are not,
If they're not the close family member, yes. That's one of the conditions already, right? It's not a close family member. That is responsible for that person.
so they cannot pay off the parents' debt?
No, they can pay off the parents' debt, but it wouldn't be zakat.
It's not zakat.
Right.
So if he wants to help the person, he can decide if he's going to use his zakat or just regular charity.
Right.
He can decide when
So you have to have that intention, basically.
the person that's doing.
Yeah.
That's why you don't invite letter to anybody, I think it just makes you.
No, because your zakat is between you and Allah. Okay, number 8, and we'll finish.
7 or 8?
I said 7? Okay. Oh, there we go. Number 7, yes.
In the way that a lot of this goes to volunteers who depend, who are not on the government payroll, who are the Muslim frontiers military. Both the poor and the rich are eligible, but it doesn't include general charitable spending, otherwise they would have been included in the other 7 categories in the Quran first, since they would all be included in the charitable spending. The broad meaning of jihad is appropriate for inclusion in this category. That is comprehensive, Islamic education, support for ideological outlaw of anti-Islamic forces, anti-Gaddafi suspicion theories, distribution of Islamic books, encouraging reliable, sincere Islamic workers to devote their energies full-time to the propagation of Islam and the countering of anti-Islamic missionaries, of atheists, activities, etc. The basis for this is the reading of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, striving with the polytheists with your wealth, your lives, and your time.
So, in the path of Allah, this means those who go for jihad, which means like the military fighting for the Muslim causes. That is one meaning. And if you expand that meaning out, like I mentioned before, for those organizations and people who give dawah, who may be teaching, like in a Quranic school or a school that's only teaching like Islamic studies and stuff like that, and they need it, yes, that can also go to them as well. Last, number 8.
The wayfarer. This is a person traveling from one lane to another. If he doesn't have the means to complete his journey, he may be given from his zakat what it takes him to complete his journey, as long as the reason for his travel is not disobedience to the law. His travel should be for a purpose which is mandatory or recommended in Islam, or least permissible. Another condition that if he cannot find anyone to loan him the money, it is also permissible to give his zakat to the wayfarer, even if he has stayed a long time in some place in the course of his journey. If the reason for his delay is to secure some need within the range of possibility. It is not mandatory to distribute the zakat on all 8 categories every year, but it is preferable,
Preferable.
bearing in mind the overall needs and benefits as perceived by the Muslim ruler or his deputy, or the individual who is paying the zakat, in the absence of organized collection and distribution.
All right, so the 8 categories: the traveler, the wayfarer, the person who's traveling from one land to another, and doesn't have the means to get back to his property. So that person can be given money out of zakat so they can get back home. Zakat doesn't have to be given to all 8 categories, but that's just on the discretion of those who are in charge of distributing it. For example, if the government, Islamic government, is distributing it, or some organizations are, they can make decisions about who needs it more than others. And if you're giving it to somebody personally, again, you don't have to find everybody in every category. You can give it to whoever you feel needs it. Any questions? Any questions? All right, we'll continue our discussion on zakat next week. Inshallah. We should be able to finish it next week, actually. Yeah. All right, well, there's coffee. There's coffee, but no cups. And there's donuts and some macaroons and water. So. Oh, and there's shawarmas. Yes, there's shawarma rolls. So please have one. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك واشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك